Nephew scratched my entire vintage vinyl collection. $10,000 worth. Bill said, "Forgive him and move on." I stayed calm. Week later, his $65,000. Ducati was unsalvageable after my service. Saturday afternoon. Family barbecue at my place. I was grilling burgers when my sister Riley pulled up in her white Suburban. The bumper sticker said, "My child is an honor student," but half the letters had peeled off. Owen was definitely not an honor student. Her son climbed out. 12 years old. Fortnite shirt hanging past his knees. Phone already glued to his hand. 10 minutes later, Blake arrived on his Ducati Panigale V4. My brother-in-law. 42 years old but dressed like he was 25. Leather jacket in the middle of July. Aviator sunglasses. The motorcycle was worth $65,000. Custom Rosso Corsa red paint. The kind of bike that costs more than most people's cars. Blake parked it at the end of my driveway like it belonged in a museum. Angled it perfectly so everyone could see. Then he revved the engine twice before shutting it off. He walked over carrying his helmet. "Beast purrs like a kitten, bro. You hear that exhaust note?" "Hard to miss," I said. "Custom Akrapovic system. $3,000 just for the pipes." He set the helmet on my patio table. "Only 3 of these in the state with this exact configuration." I nodded and flipped the burgers. Riley came through the gate carrying a pasta salad. Owen trailed behind her, still staring at his phone. "Owen, say hi to Uncle Carter." Owen looked up for 1 second, grunted, went back to scrolling. My parents arrived with potato salad and a 12-pack of cheap beer. Everyone settled into the backyard. Multiple conversations happening at once. Standard family chaos. Owen disappeared inside my house. Nobody stopped him. Nobody asked where he was going. Nobody supervised him at all. Inside my living room sat 15 years of vinyl collecting. 387 records on custom oak shelves. Organized by decade. Alphabetical by artist. Each one in a protective sleeve. The Beatles. David Bowie. Miles Davis. John Coltrane. Bob Dylan. Jimi Hendrix. Worth $10,000 conservatively. Some individual albums worth $1,500 on their own. My prized possession sat on the second shelf. A 1968 Beatles White Album. Signed by Paul McCartney at a Nashville show in 2012. $3,500. Completely irreplaceable. I had left the living room open because I trusted my family to respect my space and my property. 20 minutes into grilling, I heard glass breaking inside the house. Something heavy hitting the floor. Then laughter. Owen's laughter. High-pitched and delighted. I dropped the spatula and ran inside. Vinyl records were scattered across my hardwood floor like casualties. Sleeves torn. Discs cracked. Some snapped completely in half. Owen was standing in the middle of the destruction, holding my Bowie Ziggy Stardust album like a frisbee, already winding up to throw it. "Owen, stop!" He threw it anyway. The record sailed across the room, hit the wall, cracked straight down the middle, clattered to the floor in 2 pieces. He turned to me smiling. Zero remorse in his eyes. "They fly really good." I counted the damage. 15 records on the floor, deep scratches visible even from where I stood. 5 snapped clean in half, covers bent and torn. My Beatles White Album was cracked straight through Paul McCartney's signature. $3,500 destroyed. I picked up the pieces. My hands were shaking. Not from sadness. From rage I was barely keeping under control. "They're just old CDs," Owen said. Actually proud of himself. "Why do you even have these? Everything's on Spotify." "These aren't CDs, they're vinyl records. Some of them are older than your mother." "Same thing," he said. "Owen, these are worth thousands of dollars. You just destroyed something that cannot be replaced." "I didn't know." He crossed his arms, defensive. "Nobody told me." The noise brought everyone inside. Riley first. Then Blake. My parents behind them. Riley saw the records everywhere. Saw Owen standing in the middle. Saw me holding the broken Beatles album. "What happened?" she asked. Not to Owen. To me. Like I was the one who had done something wrong. I held up the shattered record. Signature split in half. Vinyl fractured beyond repair. Owen was using my collection as frisbees. Blake looked at the mess, whistled, then shrugged. Yikes. That sucks, man. That was his entire response. Yikes. I turned to Riley, kept my voice level. Do you see what he destroyed? She looked at the floor, at the scattered records, at Owen standing there with no remorse showing. Then back at me. He's 12, Carter. He didn't know they were valuable. He knew they were not his. Blake stepped forward. Playing peacemaker. Look, it's an accident. Kids break stuff. Let it go. Let it go? Yeah, they're just records. Get Spotify like everyone else. Vinyl's a dead format anyway. I stared at him. This man who had just spent $3,000 on custom exhaust pipes, who parked his motorcycle like it was made of glass. These are worth $10,000 total. Riley's face went red. You spent $10,000 on records? Because clearly that was the real crime here. Blake waved his hand dismissively. Okay, but it's still just stuff. Owen didn't mean to break them, right, buddy? Owen shrugged. Did not even pretend to apologize. My mother spoke up, voice gentle but firm. Carter, honey, maybe you shouldn't leave valuable things where children can reach them. My father nodded in agreement. It's just music, son. You can download it. Technology moves forward. I looked at each of them. My sister, my brother-in-law, my parents, my nephew, who still faced zero consequences. All the concern went to defending Owen. None to holding him accountable. Nobody asked how I felt. Nobody demanded an apology. Nobody offered to replace anything. I took a slow breath, set the broken record down. Right, just music. Riley relaxed, smiled even, crisis over in her mind. Thank you for understanding. Blake clapped my shoulder. That's mature, bro. Family's more important than stuff, yeah? I did not answer. Just walked back outside to the grill. Behind me, I heard Riley tell Owen he could go play. No punishment, no lecture, no consequences. The burgers were burning. I flipped them on autopilot. My mind was somewhere else entirely. Blake followed me out, completely oblivious. Ducati's running perfect, by the way. Took it up to 140 on the interstate last week. He pulled out his phone. Started showing me photos. 8 different angles of the same motorcycle. Custom Brembo brakes, carbon fiber fairings. Only 3 in Tennessee with this exact spec. He scrolled through every single photo. Same bike, slightly different lighting. I watched him talk about that machine. More enthusiasm than I had ever seen him show for Owen. Blake loved that bike more than his own stepson dinner happened around the patio table. Everyone pretended nothing was wrong. Forced cheerfulness. Owen ran around the yard laughing, playing. Zero consequences for destroying $10,000 of property. Blake kept talking about the Ducati. Track days he had planned. Upgrades he wanted. How riding it made him feel alive. $65,000 but worth every penny. You know what I mean? I knew exactly what he meant. The barbecue ended around 8. Everyone left. Riley hugged me. Thanks for being cool about the records. Blake fist bumped me. You're a good dude, Carter. Owen did not say goodbye. Already back on his phone. I stood in my driveway watching Blake's Ducati rumble away down the street. Custom exhaust echoing off the houses. $65,000. $3,000 just for the exhaust. Only 3 in the state. He loved that bike more than anything. The next morning, I made coffee and sat on my porch. Blake had posted Ducati photos on Facebook overnight. Sunday ride ready, life's too short for boring bikes. 43 likes, 12 comments worshipping the machine. I stared at my phone, then opened a text to Blake. Hey, I noticed yesterday your Ducati's exhaust sounded a little rough on startup. Might be carbon buildup. I can service it for free if you want. Used to do track maintenance in college. Reply came in 30 seconds. For real? You know bikes? Yeah, still have all my tools. Happy to help. Bro, that would be amazing. The shop wants 200 just for an oil change. When works for you? Bring it by tomorrow evening. Done. You're a lifesaver, man. I stared at that last word. Lifesaver. He had no idea what was coming. I finished my coffee, started making a list of supplies. Forgive and move on, Blake had said. I was about to teach him exactly what forgiveness costs. Monday evening, after Blake's text, I sat at my desk and opened my laptop. Typed Ducati Panigale V4 engine problems into Google. First result was a forum thread. V4 engine sensitivity, read before servicing. 247 replies. Mostly mechanics sharing horror stories. The key post from Ducati Tech 88 said everything I needed to know. The V4 engine is extremely sensitive to oil contamination. Wrong viscosity will cause bearing failure within 500 miles. Metal particles will seize the engine in under a week. This is not your Japanese bike. Ducati engines are high-strung racing engines. Another user, TrackRat305, shared his story. Used wrong oil by mistake. Engine seized 200 miles later. Dealership quoted $18,000 for replacement. Insurance didn't cover it. I kept reading. Technical specifications. Oil viscosity charts. Ducati Panigale V4 requires 15W50 fully synthetic motorcycle oil. Using 10W40 car oil would cause immediate bearing wear. Add metal contamination and the engine would not last a week. Dealership engine replacement cost averaged $20,000 to $24,000. Insurance rarely covered maintenance-related damage. This was perfect. I walked to my garage, opened my old tool cabinet from college track days. Oil drain pan, wrenches, funnels, everything still there. Bottom shelf had a jar of metal shavings from an old machining project. Aluminum and steel particles. Fine enough to circulate through an engine like sandpaper. I set everything on my workbench. The plan was simple. Drain factory oil. Add wrong oil. Run engine to circulate it. Add metal shavings. Seal it up. Blake would ride away happy. 3 to 5 days later, the bearings would start failing. 7 to 10 days maximum before complete seizure. $22,000 minimum to fix. I thought about my Beatles White Album cracked in half while Blake told me to let it go. Forgive and move on, he had said. I was doing exactly that. Tuesday evening, 6 o'clock. Blake pulled into my driveway on the Ducati, killed the engine and climbed off grinning. Thanks again for doing this, man. Saving me $200. No problem, just an oil change and check the exhaust, right? Yeah, maybe look at chain tension if you have time. Absolutely, I will take good care of it. He handed me the key fob, looked at his bike like a worried parent. She's my baby, only 3 in the state with this config. I remember, Blake called an Uber. Waited on my driveway, kept glancing back at the Ducati. His ride arrived. Thanks again, Carter. You are a lifesaver. He drove away. I wheeled the Ducati into my garage, closed the door. 90 minutes of work. Drained the factory 15W50 motorcycle oil. Perfect golden synthetic. Exactly what the engine needed. Disposed of it. Grabbed cheap 10W40 car oil from my shelf. Wrong viscosity. Wrong formulation. 4 quarts poured in. Started the engine, ran it 30 seconds. Wrong oil circulated through every bearing and camshaft. Shut it off, let it cool. Opened the drain again. Poured in a handful of metal shavings from the jar. Sealed everything up. Started the engine one more time. 15 seconds. Metal particles now grinding through the oil system. Invisible damage. Undetectable, for now. I cleaned up. Put tools away. The Ducati sat there gleaming, ready to destroy itself from the inside. Forgive and move on, Blake, I called him. Hey, all done. Runs great. Already? Damn, you are fast. Oil change is straightforward. Everything checked out. Chain tension was good. You are the best, man. I will Uber over. 20 minutes later, Blake arrived. Walked around the Ducati inspecting it. She looks amazing. You even cleaned her up. He climbed on, started the engine. Deep rumble echoed through the garage. He revved it, nodding with approval. Sounds incredible. Better than before, honestly. Fresh oil makes a difference. He pulled out his wallet. How much do I owe you? Nothing. You are family. At least let me buy you dinner. We are good. Just take care of that bike. He shook my hand. I owe you one, Carter. Seriously. He owed me 10,000. Now we were getting even. He rode away, exhaust echoing, red paint gleaming. No idea what was grinding inside that engine. I threw away the empty car oil bottles in a dumpster 3 blocks away. No evidence. Just a favor for family. 3 days later. Text from Blake. Hey man, bike is running weird, making a strange noise when I rev it. Any ideas? I typed back carefully. Probably just break in from fresh oil. Sounds different for the first 100 miles. Give it a few more days to settle in. You sure? Sounds kinda rough. Totally normal. Oil needs to circulate properly. If it is still weird after a week, let me know. Okay, cool. Thanks, bro. 3 days. Right on schedule. Bearings failing. 4 more days maximum before total seizure. Day 7. Friday afternoon. My phone exploded with notifications. Text from Blake. Carter, call me now. Engine died on the highway. Bike is at the dealership. What did you do? I called him. He answered yelling and crying. The engine locked up. On the highway at 70 miles per hour. I almost died. What? Are you okay? The bike is destroyed. Dealership said catastrophic engine failure. Metal contamination in the oil. I let silence hang. Metal contamination? How? I don't know. Engine is completely seized. Bearings shredded. Cylinder walls scored. Unsalvageable. Did they say what caused it? Wrong oil viscosity and metal particles. They asked when I had it serviced last. Here we go. What did you tell them? I told them you did an oil change 6 days ago. Blake, I used the oil from your garage. You told me to use whatever was there. Silence. I never said that. You texted me to use the supplies in your garage. I assumed you had the right oil ready. He could not prove otherwise. Dealership quoted $22,000 for a new engine. $22,000. I said nothing. Insurance won't cover it. Maintenance-related damage. My fault for using unauthorized mechanic. Blake, I was just trying to help. Help? You destroyed my bike. I did an oil change. You asked me to, for free. How was I supposed to know your oil was contaminated? He was breathing hard. This is not over, Carter. He hung up. I set my phone down. $22,000. My vinyl collection was worth $10,000. Blake just paid double. Forgive and move on. I made coffee, sat on my porch. Forgiveness was expensive, but fair was fair. The next call from Blake came 2 hours later. Different tone this time, not panicked. Furious. What did you do to my bike? I kept my voice calm. Level. Oil change, like you asked. What's wrong? The engine is destroyed. The dealership said you used the wrong oil, wrong viscosity, and there's metal contamination in the system. Blake, I used the supplies from your garage like you told me to. I never said that. You are lying. Check your texts. You asked me to service it. I did. For free as a favor. Silence on his end. He was scrolling, looking for proof that did not exist. The dealership said this is negligence, possibly intentional. Intentional? Blake, why would I sabotage your bike? Because of the records. Because of Owen. I let that hang in the air for a moment. You told me to let that go, forgive, and move on, remember? That was different. Was it? He hung up. Blake was starting to understand. 2 days later, Blake called his insurance company. I know because he posted about it in the family group chat. Just got off phone with insurance. They are refusing to cover the engine replacement. $22,000. Out of pocket, my mom replied first. Why won't they cover it? Blake's response came fast. Angry typing. They said mechanical failure from improper maintenance is not covered under my policy. I told them Carter did the maintenance. They said I authorized a non-certified mechanic to work on a $65,000 vehicle. My liability. My problem. Riley jumped in. Can you sue Carter? Talking to a lawyer tomorrow. I did not reply. Just watch the chat scroll. My dad chimed in. Let's all calm down and talk this through like adults. Blake ignored him. Posted again. Carter sabotaged my bike over some records. This is insane. I typed a response, kept it simple. I offered free help. You accepted. Sorry it did not work out the way you hoped. Riley exploded. This is insane, Carter. Over some records? You destroyed a $65,000 motorcycle over vinyl? I replied immediately. Forgive him and move on, right? That's what you told me when Owen destroyed $10,000 of my property. Silence in the chat for 3 minutes. Then my mom. Carter, this is not the same thing. You are right. Blake's bike is fixable. You can buy engine parts. My signed Beatles album cannot be replaced at any price, so actually Blake got off easier. My dad tried to mediate. Everyone needs to take a breath. We are family. I typed one more message. Owen destroyed my property. Blake told me it was just stuff. Let it go. Family is more important. So I let it go. Now Blake's bike is broken. I am telling him the same thing. Let it go. Forgive and move on. Fair is fair. I muted the chat. Let them argue without me. Carter was done explaining. That evening, I sat down with a calculator. Did the math Blake was probably doing. Engine replacement at dealership, $22,000. Loaner car rental for 2 weeks while waiting for parts. $57 per day. $800 total. Lost track day entry fee he had already paid. Non-refundable. $450. Uber rides to and from my house. $43 total. Grand total. $23,293. My vinyl collection destroyed. $10,000. Blake was paying more than double what he cost me. Forgiveness was expensive. I saved the calculation as a screenshot. Did not post it anywhere. Just kept it for myself. The next day, Blake called me. Different tone again. Controlled. Measured. I talked to a lawyer. Okay. I am suing you for negligence and property damage. $22,000 for the engine, plus emotional distress, plus loss of use, $30,000 total. I sat down, stayed calm. Blake, you asked me to service your bike. I have the text messages. You authorized the work. I did it for free as a family favor. You used the wrong oil intentionally. Prove it. Silence. You added metal shavings to the engine. Prove it. More silence. The dealership said there was contamination. They did not say I put it there. Could have been in your garage. Could have been in the oil you had stored. Could have been from your last service before mine. You are lying. No. I am stating facts. You authorized me to work on your bike. Gave me the key. Let me service it. For free. Now you are unhappy with the result and looking for someone to blame. He was breathing hard. My lawyer said we have a case. Your lawyer wants your money. Go ahead and sue. Discovery will show your text messages asking me for help. My response offering free service. Your acceptance. Your thanks afterward. Zero evidence of intentional sabotage. At best, you prove I made a mistake. Mistakes are not crimes. Long silence. You did this on purpose. You told me to forgive and move on. I did. Now I am suggesting you do the same. He hung up. I knew he would not sue. His lawyer probably already told him the case was weak. No evidence, just suspicion. Authorization in writing meant Blake accepted the risk when he handed over his key. Blake was trapped. 3 days later, Riley called. Not texted. Called. That meant she was really upset. I answered. Hey, what is wrong with you? Nothing. How are you? Do not play games, Carter. You destroyed Blake's motorcycle to punish Owen, a 12-year-old child. No, I serviced Blake's motorcycle because he asked me to. What happened after that is unfortunate. You are lying. Everyone knows you did this on purpose. Everyone can believe whatever they want. The facts say Blake asked for my help. I provided it. For free. He was grateful at the time. Owen is devastated. He thinks this is his fault. That stopped me for a second. Owen destroyed my property. Blake told him it was fine. No consequences, no apology, no accountability. Now Blake is facing consequences for his own decisions. That is not Owen's fault. That is Blake's. Blake is talking about losing the bike entirely. He cannot afford $22,000. They might repossess it. Then Blake should have thought about that before dismissing $10,000 of my property as just stuff. Riley's voice cracked. This is cruel, Carter. No. Cruel is letting your 12-year-old destroy someone's irreplaceable possessions and telling them to get over it. I am simply applying the same philosophy Blake gave me. Forgive and move on. That was about records. This is a motorcycle. You are right. A motorcycle is replaceable. Parts can be bought. Engines can be swapped. My signed Beatles album cannot be replaced at any price. So actually, Blake's situation is better than mine was. I cannot believe you are my brother. I cannot believe you let Owen destroy my property and took his side. But here we are. She hung up. I sat there for a moment, staring at my phone. Owen thinking this was his fault bothered me more than I wanted to admit. The kid was a victim of bad parenting. Blake had taught him that actions do not have consequences. Now Blake was learning that lesson himself. But Owen was caught in the middle. Carter was right. But being right did not always feel good. That night, Blake posted in the family group chat one last time. Selling the Ducati for parts. Cannot afford the repair. Getting $8,000 for the parts and frame. Still owe $31,000 on the loan. Will be paying for a bike I no longer own for the next 4 years, my mom responded. Blake, I am so sorry, Riley posted. This is Carter's fault. I muted the chat again. Blake was about to spend 4 years making payments on a destroyed motorcycle. I had spent 15 years building a vinyl collection that was gone in 20 minutes. The difference was Blake told me to let it go. Forgive and move on. I did exactly that. Just not the way he expected. Some lessons cost more than others. I walked to my living room, looked at the empty shelf where my records used to sit. Started planning how to rebuild. Slowly. Carefully. Some things could not be replaced. But you move forward anyway. Blake would learn that too. Eventually. 3 months later. Blake sold the Ducati for parts. Got $8,000. The frame and custom paint went to some guy in Kentucky who was building a track bike. He used that money to buy a used Honda Shadow. $4,000. 20 years old. Needed work. The remaining $4,000 went to bills. But he still owed $31,000 on the Ducati loan. The bank did not care that the bike was destroyed. The loan remained. Blake was making monthly payments on a motorcycle that no longer existed. Would be doing that for the next 4 years. Expensive lesson in forgiveness, Riley posted about it occasionally in the family chat. How Blake was struggling. How stressed he was. How he blamed me for everything. I stayed muted. Did not engage. My mother called one afternoon. Carter, can we talk? Sure. Your father and I want to have a family dinner, mediation, clear the air. About what? About the situation with Blake, and Owen, and the records. We need to move past this. I knew what this really was. An ambush designed to pressure me into apologizing or paying Blake's repair bill. When? I asked. This Saturday, 6 o'clock, our place. I will be there. Saturday came. I arrived at my parents' house at 6 exactly. Everyone was already there. Riley, Blake, Owen, my parents. Blake would not look at me, just stared at his plate. We ate in uncomfortable silence for 20 minutes. My mother kept trying to make small talk. Nobody engaged. Finally, my father cleared his throat. We need to address the elephant in the room. I waited. Blake is in a difficult financial situation because of the motorcycle. Carter, we think the fair thing would be for you to pay half the repair cost, $11,000. I set down my fork. No. Carter, be reasonable. I am being reasonable. Blake asked me to service his bike. I did. For free. What happened after is not my responsibility. Blake spoke for the first time. Voice tight. You sabotaged it. Prove it. Everyone knows you did. Knowing and proving are different things. You authorized the work. Gave me your key. Thanked me after. Now you want me to pay because you are unhappy with the outcome. My mother stepped in. Gentle voice. Carter, this is tearing the family apart. No. Blake tore it apart when he taught Owen that destroying other people's property has no consequences. I am just making sure the lesson stuck. Riley had been quiet. Now she stood up. Left the room. Came back with Owen. The kid looked nervous, kept glancing at his mom. Owen has something to say, Riley announced. Owen pulled out a folded piece of paper, started reading. Uncle Carter, I am sorry I broke your records. I did not know they were expensive. I will be more careful in the future. He looked up, waiting for approval. I looked at him. Do you know why what you did was wrong? Owen hesitated, looked at Riley. She nodded. Because they were expensive? No, because they were not yours. Price does not matter. You do not destroy other people's property. Period. Owen looked confused. But Mom said, Riley cut him off. He apologized, Carter. Can you please just accept it and move on? That was not an apology. That was a script you wrote. He still does not understand. Blake stood up, chair scraping. This is pointless. He came here to apologize. You are rejecting it because you want to punish us forever. I am not punishing anyone. I am stating facts. Owen does not understand why his actions were wrong. You have not taught him. You are still protecting him from consequences. My father raised his voice. Carter, you are being unreasonable. Blake is struggling. You could help, but you are choosing not to. That is cruel. Blake told me to let go of $10,000 like it was nothing. Now I am telling him to let go of $22,000. By his own logic, that should be easy. Silence around the table. I stood up. Thank you for dinner. I need to go. My mother grabbed my arm. Carter, please. Blake wants revenge on me. Riley wants me to apologize for doing exactly what Blake asked. You want me to pay for damage I did not cause. None of you have acknowledged that Owen destroyed my property and Blake dismissed it. Until that happens, there is nothing to mediate. I left. Some bridges burn for good reason. Over the next few months, I slowly rebuilt my vinyl collection. Found a Beatles White Album at a record store in Memphis. Not signed. Not first pressing, but playable. $800. Not the same. Would never be the same. But functional. I bought it anyway. Added other albums gradually. Budgeted $200 a month. Built back what I could. The collection would never be what it was. But it was mine again. Moving forward meant accepting loss 1 year later. Almost to the date. Riley filed for divorce from Blake. Not because of the motorcycle, because of money issues that had been building for years. The Ducati loan was just the final straw. Blake moved out. Got a small apartment. Took the used Honda with him. Riley got primary custody of Owen. Blake got every other weekend. I heard all this through my mother, who heard it from Riley. I did not reach out. Stayed distant. Then, one afternoon, my phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. Hi, Uncle Carter. This is Owen. Can I visit you sometime? I stared at the message. Did not respond immediately. Another text came. Mom gave me your number. Said I should ask. I understand if you say no, I typed back. Why do you want to visit? I want to apologize. For real this time, not from a script. I thought about it. Texted Riley. Owen asked to visit. That okay with you? She responded fast. Yes. He has been in therapy for 6 months, actually dealing with his behavior. He brings you up a lot. Supervised visit only. Agreed. Saturday afternoon, Owen showed up with Riley. She stayed in the car. He walked to my door. Knocked. I let him in. He was taller now, 13 years old, less kid, more teenager. We sat in my living room. He looked at the rebuilt vinyl collection. I was a brat, he said. No script, just honesty. I broke your stuff because I thought it was funny. Because nobody ever told me no. Blake used to laugh when I did things like that. Said I had spirit. I listened. Mom said you destroyed Blake's motorcycle because of what I did. I thought that meant you hated me. My therapist said it meant you were teaching Blake a lesson he should have taught me. Your therapist is smart. I am sorry I broke your records. Really sorry. Not because they were expensive, because they were yours and I destroyed them. That was wrong. First time he actually understood. Apology accepted, I said. His face brightened. Can you teach me about vinyl? I want to understand why they mattered to you. I pulled a record from the shelf, showed him the album art, explained the sound quality, the collecting process, the history. He listened, actually engaged. We spent an hour going through the collection. I played a few records, showed him how to handle them properly. This is really cool, he said. Genuine. Riley knocked on the door. Time to go? Owen stood up. Can I come back? Yeah, you can come back. The cycle was broken. Blake did not take the divorce well. He posted on Facebook constantly. Bitter rants about family betrayal, tagged me in several. Beware of Carter Hayes, sabotages motorcycles, destroys families, all over records. The comments were not what he expected. Dude, you asked him to work for free, then blamed him when it went wrong. You told him to forgive and move on about the records. Why can't you do the same? This is embarrassing, man. Delete this. Blake deleted the posts. Blocked me. Disappeared from social media entirely. Last I heard, he was still making payments on the Ducati loan. Still riding the old Honda. Still angry, but isolated. Nobody wanted to hear his complaints anymore. Blake never learned. Some people don't. 6 months after Owen's first visit, he had been over a dozen times. We had developed a routine. Saturday afternoons, listening to records, talking about music. I taught him about jazz, blues, classic rock. He soaked it all in. One Saturday, I was at my favorite record store, found a rare Bowie album. Station to Station, first pressing. Mint condition. I texted Owen. Found one you would like. Want to come see? Reply came fast. Yes. Can I bring my friend Marcus? He wants to learn about vinyl too. Sure. They showed up an hour later. Two 13-year-olds excited about 40-year-old music. I showed them the Bowie album, played it, explained the production, the era, the significance. They listened like it mattered. Owen bought his first record that day. Used his allowance. Dark Side of the Moon by Pink Floyd. $20. He held it carefully. Protective. The way you hold something valuable. Thanks for teaching me this, Uncle Carter. Thanks for being willing to learn. We walked out of the store. Owen carrying his record like treasure. I thought about the Beatles' White Album cracked in half. The collection destroyed. The year of conflict. Blake had wanted me to forgive without accountability. To let it go. To pretend actions did not have consequences. I taught them the opposite. Forgiveness requires change. Accountability matters. Consequences are real. Blake never changed. Still bitter. Still blaming everyone else. Owen changed. Learned. Grew. That was the difference. Carter won. Not by destroying Blake. By saving Owen. Riley texted me that evening. Thank you for giving Owen a chance. You did not have to, I typed back. He earned it. That is how it works. She sent a heart emoji. Progress. I sat on my porch that night, coffee in hand, watching the sunset. The vinyl collection was smaller now, different, but growing again. My family was fractured. Some bridges burned permanently. Blake would never speak to me again. But Owen was learning respect. Riley was trying. My parents were slowly coming around. Not perfect, but better. I learned something too. Forgiveness does not mean forgetting. It does not mean no consequences. It does not mean letting people walk over you. Forgiveness means setting boundaries, teaching lessons, giving people the chance to change. Some take that chance. Some do not. Blake chose bitterness. Owen chose growth. I chose peace. And that was enough. Blake wanted Carter to forgive without consequences. Carter taught him that forgiveness costs exactly what you took. $22,000 for a $10,000 lesson. Bad math, but fair. Owen learned it for free by watching his stepdad pay. Best education the kid ever got. And Carter? He learned that some bridges burn so others can be built. Blake's Ducati for Owen's future. Worth it.